Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, which is brought to you by Bet365. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the moment is never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code NATION when you sign up for an account. My name is Dave Quadrelli. I'm joined by Harmon Dial, and our technical producer is Jacob Lazar. Dave Hall's going to join today's show, so that might explain it. But seems to be a lot of people in the chat right now. Seems to be a lot of people consuming Canucks content. Harmon, do you think it was a coincidence that the Canucks played arguably their most fun game of the season last night? And I've noticed an uptick in readership at Canucks Army. This was a game that seems to have, and again, I'm going to make a lot of exaggerations today as I talk about Elias Pettersson and Thatcher Demko. But this felt like a game that kind of reinvigorated the fan base post JT Miller trade.
It was a good vibes win. I mean, it was so fun. It was so entertaining, just as a team as well, process-wise. Like, forget about the result. The result is amazing, a 3-0 shutout win over the Colorado Avalanche. I think we can all agree that they got some bounces in the first period where Colorado hit three posts. It was a closer game than the 3-0 scoreline would have indicated, but it's just process-wise. Even going back to the Detroit game, which they lost, they've looked faster. They've looked more entertaining. They've looked more dynamic. And to me, it starts with the back end. They appear to be so much more mobile. The breakouts have been miles better, which no Vincent Desharnais, no more Noah Juleson. You've added Marcus Pettersson. DPD's helped in that facet. I think that's instantly made this team a lot more watchable. Plus, you get more speed up front with Hedl and O'Connor, who can drive possession entries. And even the existing forwards, they're able to attack with more pace now because the breakouts are cleaner. So just they're so much more connected as a five-man unit. In the first half of the season, we were also complaining about how defensively their work rate seems to be up and down. It seems to be inconsistent. The last couple of games, one thing you cannot question about this team is their work ethic. They've been grinding. They've looked quick. They've been engaged. It's been really fun to watch this team play at 5-5.
It looked like the team was having fun last night, and I don't think they've done that many times. Like, again, no Quinn Hughes in the lineup. That's the craziest part about it, is they did it without Quinn Hughes in the lineup. But again, you see the Nathan MacKinnon stat line. You see the third best defenseman in the NHL, Cale Makar. You see his stat line, and it's just like, what did they do right? Well, I noticed a lot of neutral zone shutdowns. Just like before Colorado could even gain the zone, they were already on them. And again, it comes down to that work rate and not letting them gain the zone. I thought the Canucks did a fantastic job defending, especially through the neutral zone last night.
I'd agree from the second period onward. I think the first period they gave up a lot of chances.
First period they got lucky. First period they got lucky. We should say that right off the top.
In the first period, I mean, MacKinnon and Natchez, seriously, and this isn't just against the Canucks. It's not about, oh, look at how the Canucks defense sort of got exposed. MacKinnon and Natchez together have been like EA NHL video game mode, just off the rush, because both guys can dangle guys in the neutral zone.
With speed, with a ton of speed. Like a ton of speed.
They're almost as entertaining to watch together as McDavid and Draisaitl. Like, since that trade, they are so electric, and we saw that in the first period, right? A lot of 2-on-1 rushes, a lot of 3-on-2 chances. But yeah, after that first period, I thought the Canucks really started to settle in. I mean, heading into the first TV timeout, the shots were 7-1 or 8-1 in favor of Vancouver. So they started to figure it out. And I think the key there too was in the first period, they were turning pucks over to the neutral zone. And in the offensive end, a lot of Colorado's counterattacks started with Vancouver turnovers. The Canucks were a little bit sloppy early. From the second period onward, I thought their puck management, their passing was a lot more crisp. And that, and when you don't turn the puck over, it makes it a lot easier to defend in transition.
I said second best defenseman in the league, so people are asking, well, who is the second? Who are you talking about? I'm making a Zach Werenski joke. Werenski's been phenomenal for Columbus, and ESPN did their little Norris Trophy or awards ballot voting, anonymous voting, and Werenski finished ahead of Makar in that. So I don't think I'm the only one that's starting to think that, but I don't know how I'm going to vote just yet. On the Norris. I don't know if I'm going to actually have Werenski number 2, but Werenski's been phenomenal. Someone in the chat said, quads, Oliver Sholnick said this, quads, DPD is the second best defender in the league. Let's talk about him. Let's talk about Elias Pettersson. Pull it up, Jacob. My tweet from yesterday that I didn't tell you to prepare. You don't have it. It's okay. I didn't tell you to prepare it. But Harmon, I talked about it yesterday, and I tweeted it yesterday. when Noah Juleson took line rushes in the morning skate alongside Elias Pettersson, I was fired up. I was fired up right away. I sent off a tweet finishing it with enough of this. And I even said Carson Soucy on the right side with Elias Pettersson is the Canucks' best chance at winning. And people were like, well, what about Victor Mancini? Sure, I don't care. Yeah, get Victor Mancini in there. Just don't have it be Noah Juleson. Noah Juleson out of the lineup. The Canucks record in games without Noah Juleson in the lineup improves even more. I liked Carson Soucy's game last night. I did think he played well. And again, we talked about that yesterday. How would he react to the softer matchups, the lower minutes, but mostly the matchups that come with playing those third pairing minutes? And I really, really liked Elias Pettersson's game. He's the subject of our poll question today, and we're going to get to that a little bit later on. But man, DPD was doing it all. He was moving the puck and harm. I pull it up again. The notebook. We flip back to my notes. That Sunday game, that faithful Sunday where I wrote down my notes on Elias Pettersson's game, and I came back on Monday and said, I've got things to say. I've got takes on a prospect because I watched him with my own eyes. What did I write? I wrote, moves the puck out of his own end with speed and with a good first pass. And what did he do last night? He did all that. Then he throws some bone-crushing hits. He was in Logan O'Connor's head to the max. Draws the 4-minute penalty at the end. Shout out to Linus Karlsson for being a part of that one. But that all started with DPD not backing down when Connor Garland took a bad hit to the back. Again, how many times this year, and Jacob pulls it up here for us, how many times this year have we seen just no response to that? But again, it's DPD coming in and he's roughing O'Connor up, and you love to see it. You absolutely love to see it. And then they go after him, and then look, the whole team comes out towards Pettersson to defend him. Except for Elias Pettersson, who is dangling with the puck in the offensive end. But he didn't know the play stopped.
It was brilliant, right? He's instantly becoming a fan favorite, a cult hero on the breakout. He's got all three skill sets that you kind of look for. He's got the quick burst of the skating against forecheck pressure, which gives him the initial space to make a play, right? A lot of times bigger defensemen can get caught flat-footed. We saw that many times earlier in the Canucks season with some of the bottom 4D that they had who couldn't really move. They didn't even have sometimes the opportunity to make a play because they're caught flat-footed. DPD has that quick burst against forecheck pressure. I think his vision and how he reads, scans, and makes decisions as far as breakout options is good. I like the decision making there, and then it's not just I'm going to pass from point A to point B. That's a good decision. It's you got to be an accurate, clean tape-to-tape passer, and DPD has proven that as well. It's such a positive departure from all the glassing out, all the times earlier in the season where there'd be a dump in behind the Canucks net. Canucks bottom 4 defenseman goes to retrieve it, and it's just either rimming it around the boards, trying to shovel it up the wall, going glassing out, unable to connect on outlet passes. DPD helps in that area. Plus, I mean, just look at the way that he crushes guys, right? Yeah. And this is a point too, is in the first half of the season, right? They had all these like big defensemen like Forbert, Soucy, Desharnais. They weren't actually that hard to play against. How many bone crushing hits did they throw? Whereas DP already in that game had 2, 3, 4. Plus defensively too, it's a controlled aggression that he has. That's what I really like, is he reads the right moments to step up and kill plays. Whether it's defending the rush at the defensive blue line, whether it's pinching at the offensive blue line to keep attacking zone possessions alive. And the key is he doesn't put himself out of position. Right? Sometimes that's why I said controlled aggression, right? Because you can't be doing the Noah Juleson thing where you're putting yourself out of position, getting caught. DPD's shown the right risk to reward ratio there. And he's been an awesome story so far.
Thatcher Demko was a big story of last night's game. In my notes, I have it written down to take a victory lap, and that I told you also. I've been saying it for a while. You got to give Thatcher Demko some time to get his timing back. The people that were clamoring for Lankinen to start yesterday, you were all wrong. I need to take a quick victory lap there. But can we pull up the would have been a goal if it weren't for DPD, Jacob? This is Elias Pettersson diving back to break up a play after a really nice Thatcher Demko glove save. this was all part of a bigger sequence where Thatcher Demko got his first standing ovation at Rogers Arena this season. He was phenomenal last night in that sequence in the middle of the second period. Again, we just saw it, and for those on the podcast, I'm sure you watched the game. If you didn't, go read the stand sheets, go read Instant Reaction. We talked about it forever, and I had the tweet as well where I did the still frame of him diving to break up that play, gets a stick on it. The number one response to that tweet, Harm? Where is Noah Juleson on that? We could have made that our poll question today. Where's Noah Juleson on that play? Some people guessed behind Thatcher Demko in the blue paint. Some people guessed looking for who he's going to hit that doesn't have the puck. Some people guessed turned around, not even facing the right play, trying to figure out where he's supposed to be. We've done a lot of slagging on Noah Juleson today, but this is all to say Elias Pettersson looked very, very good last night. And again, that's the thing is I feel bad sometimes slagging on players, but like I had a tweet last night, and it was a joke. It was a funny joke, but people took it as me like dumping on Elias Pettersson, because I tweeted this out. I thought it was a great joke. You tell me if this is a good joke, Harm, and I'm sure you saw it. 1.7k likes right now. I said the Canucks hoped they'd get the best version of, and you spell it so you don't know how it's pronounced. They'd hoped they get the best version of Elias Pettersson by trading JT Miller. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they specified which one, and the hockey gods have chosen the defenseman to this point. And I added to this point to be like, okay, well, like there's a chance Petey figures it out too, and I'm not saying like, oh, Petey's washed, trade him. But a bunch of people replied being like, stop being so hard on him. And it's like, I wasn't trying to be mean to Elias Pettersson. I thought it was a great joke about how good Elias Pettersson played in that game. And again, I said to this point because like it was another quiet night for Elias Pettersson. Like, let's be honest here. And I don't know. People were really upset about that tweet.
I thought it was a really funny joke. It was clearly a joke. I mean, you're not writing EP40 off this quickly, but you're right. It was another. Like, put it this way: Filipino looks twice as fast as Elias Pettersson when he's on the ice. And it's becoming increasingly concerning to me, the lack of pop in EP40's skating and acceleration right now. He just looks slow. I think that hinders his ability to have time and space with the puck to make plays, but that's also another, like you can flip that negativity in a positive light in the sense that they don't have PD going. They haven't had Quinn Hughes in the lineup, and yet they've still looked fun, dynamic. They've still been controlling play relatively well. So you can sort of view it that way where it's like, okay, once you get Quinn Hughes back in the lineup and if you can get PD going, what does this team look like?
There's some reason to be excited about the Canucks' new look blue line after last night. I think that's the big takeaway. And we're going to continue to talk about it. We're going to talk about it in our poll question. We're going to talk about it in anyone else. But man, I really, really, really enjoyed what I saw last night. Not even just from Elias Pettersson. Marcus Pettersson, who I'm calling MP. This idea of MP3 being his nickname, the players are calling him MP. Perfect, done, no problem. MP3 suggests there's two other players on the team with the initial MP. Like, yeah, I get it, MP3 players, those were a thing. I had an MP3 player, I'm not that young. But, like, MP, perfect, done, easy. That's what I'm calling him from now on. MP, Marcus Pettersson, done, easy. No need to complicate things. Agreed?
I agree.
No need to complicate things. Keep things simple. You can keep things simple when you buy a Toyota BZ4X. Dave Hall is a presentation of Pacific Toyota dealers who want to tell you about the 100% electric Toyota BZ4X. The BZ4X is packed with all the things you want in an SUV, like the room to fit all your family, friends, hockey bags, and whatever else you've got. And of course, the BZ4X is backed by the peace of mind that comes with knowing you're driving a Toyota. When you choose the BZ4X, you can get up to $6,500 in rebates and incentives, and now you can finance a 2025 BZ4X from 3.29% APR for 36 months. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Shoptoyota.ca. Let's bring him in. Dave Hall joins us now, Canucks Army's prospect guru. Dave, you were telling us about Elias Pettersson for a while, so I'm sorry you had to hear me take victory laps about him. But I saw him with my own eyes, and I have my own takes now, because obviously I rely on you heavily. But you've been telling us about Elias Pettersson for a while. But even for you, are you at all surprised at how quickly he seems to be picking up the NHL game?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the one thing that's always been impressive about his game is whether it's the Allsvenskan, the Swedish Hockey League, the AHL, and now apparently the NHL, he just brings he's as advertised. He doesn't sway from his game. He's nothing fancy, as we've said many times on the show, meat and potatoes, but that's exactly what he brings, and he's doing it at the NHL level at 20. So yes, I'm not shocked that he's bringing the same kind of style, but I'm definitely shocked that we're in February of his rookie year and he's already doing that, making other players expendable on the Canucks roster. So
when it comes to sorry, Harm, I just have this question, and I forgot to write follow up in our chat because Dave made me think about it. When we watched him at training camp, and you were at training camp with us, Dave, like he looked a bit out of place in the preseason. Like he looked like he had just a step behind. He wasn't processing the game very fast, and it looked like, okay, there's a guy who clearly needs time in the AHL. But he didn't have that much time in the AHL. What's been the difference? Where has his game taken the steps in the few months it's been down in the A?
Well, and I'm glad you bring that up, Quads, because I'll actually bring it back to last year when he first made that initial jump to the American League. And it's something that I wrote about at Canucks Army, that he was a bit like maybe a step or two behind in his first couple games in the American League. So it took him maybe 2 to 3 games to actually acclimate his game to that new speed. But he picked it up pretty quick. And I feel like this year it's the exact same thing. Like even in his first NHL, maybe even second game, you notice that he was getting a little bit burned on the outside. There was some tiny mistakes going on, but he quickly adapts. And I think that's one of the most impressive aspects of his game. At 20 years old, he's able to kind of make those adjustments, and he doesn't really falter from his game. He knows what he brings, and he just plays that simple meat and potatoes game that just translates so well. And at 20 years old, it's just so impressive. And so to answer your question, there hasn't really been anything that he's done differently. It's just that, especially coming over from the Swedish Hockey League, as we all know, he's coming from a much different game, a much bigger game. The ice surface is huge, and so he has a lot more time to make his reads. And so it's just a matter of adjustments. And he's made those all year. He made them real quick last year, and now he just needed to adjust a little bit to the NHL level. And so far, it looks like he's done it.
What do you think his overall ceiling is? Because I remember talking to scouts when the Canucks drafted him. They generally liked that DPD pick, but their projection at the time was more of a number 5, 6 defenseman at the NHL level. Of course, his stock has gone up since then.
Yeah.
What is his realistic ceiling?
Well, I think I agree. At the time, I could see why they would think 5-6. I think that makes total sense. I think now what we've seen from his quick adjustments, I think we could probably bump that up to a realistic 4. I think at this point, we're not gonna, he's not gonna jump in on that power play and be that number 1, 2, or 3 guy. But I think if you have him, if we have a realistic, I guess it's kind of tough with Marcus Pettersson now in the mix, but he has jumped to the right side at times. But I think a 4 is definitely a realistic ceiling for him. Once he, it was interesting to hear talk about him last night and how they've kind of eased him into his role. But now that they've seen him, he played over almost 15 minutes of ice time last night. They're kind of giving him a little bit more to chew on. I think as the time goes on, you're definitely going to want to get him into the penalty kill, because that's where he's at his best. He's at his best when he's shutting down top opponents. So I think, like, even in Abbotsford this year, he started off nice and easy. Malhotra wasn't giving him too hard of numbers, but then within just a few short weeks, he was minute munching on that top line. And now, since his time has progressed over the year, he's now their most utilized player on Abbotsford. So I think number 4, he's going to shut down that second line of the other team's top guys, and then you need him on the penalty kill. So I think realistically, top penalty killer as a second line, second pair guy is probably his upside.
Okay, we've talked about Marcus Pettersson a little bit here. We asked the listeners to get you some questions, Dave. So this one's from LC250. He asked, what's the ceiling of Melvin Fernstrom, of course traded in the Marcus Pettersson trade, and Jackson Dorrington, who was a part of the JT Miller trade? What kind of superstar potential did we lose?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think it's okay. I was a little shocked to see Fernstrom in that trade, to be quite honest. Like, I think with Fernstrom, he brings there's intangibles for sure. He's got a very, I wouldn't say elite, but a high-end shot. It's not only he doesn't only bring velocity, but he's got a pinpoint accuracy with that shot. So I think overall, you're losing a potential scorer, a potential top 6 caliber scorer in terms of that shot. There are definitely deficiencies in his game. His skating needs to come a long way to even be able to, like even come close to the NHL level. So he needs to work on his skating. He's got a good compete, but he's not very aggressive. So I think overall you're losing an intriguing but project for sure. So he's an intriguing prospect, but a project. For Dorrington, I could see where the intrigue on a guy like Jackson Dorrington is. He's a defensive, heavy-hitting, shutdown kind of guy. But when you look at the Vancouver Canucks, you kind of already have that in Elias Pettersson. Now we got Marcus Pettersson in the fold, and so when you see a guy like Elias Pettersson come up so quick and just hit all of his strides this quick, I just think a guy like Jackson Dorrington becomes pretty expendable. And if it's going to get you on that finish line to get a guy like Filipino and actually promote that trade, I think it's a no-brainer. I wasn't too bent out of shape. He was maybe going to turn pro this year and probably be on Abbott's for quite a few years. So I'm more, if you want to use the word, butthurt about Melvin Fernstrom. But I mean, at the same time, you're still looking at a project third rounder who brings some intangibles, but overall still has some work to do. So
one thought I had in just after these trades was looking at, with Marcus Pettersson, DPD, Willander, Mancini coming in, plus some of the addition by subtraction with Desharnais and not having to lean on Noah Juleson. Compared to the start of the season, I've been thinking the Canucks blue line could pretty quickly become a strength here, particularly for next season when Willander and DPD could really be further along in their development. Is that a thought process and take that you agree with?
Oh, absolutely. And it's crazy what a week can do, right? Like in just a short week. And actually, let's not even go a week. Let's say a year, because I don't think even myself, as with your first question, I don't know if I anticipated Elias Pettersson to look this good, this quick in an NHL lineup. And so I think really quickly, and then the addition of Mancini and Pettersson, I think this D has the potential to look very good. And if Willander can hit quickly, I'm going to be a little conservative and say maybe not this year, but if he can figure it out by next season, this core can look pretty good on the back end. I fully agree, Harm. Fully agree.
So Arminio's back there, another guy that's getting a lot of attention in our chat right now. We'll focus on this question from Ty's Hockey Talk, although a lot of people did bring him up. This question from Ty's Hockey Talk: lots of Kudryavtsev hype early in the season. How has he been as of late? The kid Kirill, how's he been?
Mm-hmm. I love Kirill's game. It's hard not to. They definitely do play two different styles, and one that if Elias Pettersson, he's just a specimen. He's a physical specimen that just was already physically ready. It was just whether he could adjust to the speed of the game and work out those kinks, which he has. The issue with Kirill, if it's an issue, if you want to say, is that he's not really throwing the body. What he does is he leverages his stick incredibly well. And so he closes gaps really quick and he uses that stick. I actually just put a quick little highlight package of a couple clips that I just couldn't help but share over X yesterday. And he's just, no matter what, he's almost like a fencer back there. He's using his stick. But the issue that I have with him is just, is he physically ready to make that jump? I love his breakout game. He's got a pass first mentality, and he's shown that his shot's gotten better and his overall play's gotten better. But I think if we're comparing the two, I think Kirill still needs to kind of adjust a little bit more to the physical game, which could take, I wouldn't even be shocked if he spends all of next year in the American League either. So I don't think he's far from having, a stint and maybe seeing how he can do, because he is a smart player. I just, he is only 20 and, opposite of Elias Pettersson, he's just not physically mature like that. So I love Kirill's game, especially at the American League, though.
We know this coaching staff loves size on the back end. One sort of thing that I've been wondering about with Kirill is he's so smart, he's a good puck mover, but he does appear to be slight. Could you see a scenario a year or two from now where he's developing and he looks to be an NHL ready talent, but maybe whether it's size related or defensive related, he might get like the Eric Branstrom treatment, where even though he deserves to be in an NHL lineup, maybe with this coaching staff doesn't get that opportunity? Is that a concern you have?
That's always the concern. And I think that's why, as much as you don't you don't want to hover, especially nowadays. You don't really want to just have it all be about weight and size and all that stuff. But at the same time, if you're not a heavy specimen and you're not that elite level offensive talent, he's an offensive talent and he's showing some good promise at the AHL level. But let's be real, he's also a 7th round guy who's not that elite guy. So there's a lot. I agree that it might just end up being that, that tweener that just doesn't get that role because he doesn't kill penalties like Elias Pettersson or Marcus Pettersson now. He's not going to take over that power play with, Quinn Hughes and Tom Wielander. So, I think there is a real possibility that he does find himself on the outside looking in on all these jobs that are already kind of filled by said player, right? And so, ultimately, if it's in this organization, there is definitely a possibility that he's on the outside looking in a lot of those situations. So,
okay. I think that's all the listener questions. Oh, this is one from Nar, and I think I can answer it. He's curious if DPD fights. I ask you, Dave, did he ever have a fight in the SHL? Or Allsvenskan in your reviewing?
Not that I can remember of an actual drop the gloves and go for it fight. Not off the top of my head.
Okay, so I'll jump in. I got told very recently by a source out in Abbotsford that either after a practice or before a practice, DP2 was out with one of the AHL guys learning where to grab on the jersey, and Perfect. He was practicing some form for how to fight. So people wanted to know that I was saving that. I was curious if he had done it before, but yeah, someone told me that he was just out there practicing his technique.
As he should, because the thing about him is he doesn't take anything from anyone. As we saw last night, he responds, and he's that's why I don't think I can remember off the top of my head him actually dropping them. But that said, I don't think he's going to shy away from it if it presents itself. Like last night, was a perfect example. He's not going to take any crap, and if Quinn Hughes gets hit, he's going to be the first man in, which is something great and something that the Canucks desperately need. So yeah, he's going to be a fan favorite. I've said on this show many times, just watch out for him to be a fan favorite. First game in Abbotsford, I could already tell it's going to happen, and now a couple games in the NHL, it's already happened. So I just love hearing Rick Tocchet pretty much describe his game as pinpoint. Good first pass, good skater, a truck, basically everything that we've said on this show for the past couple of years came out of Rick Tocchet's mouth. So I was happy about that.
This one from Brad for you. What have you seen from Mancini, assuming you've had an opportunity to take a look at his game, and what ultimately do you believe his potential could be?
Yeah, if you haven't, Daniel G wrote a great article at Canucks Army breaking down his game, and he did a tremendous job. I worry sometimes that, and I get why, that there's a lot of hype on him right now, and from what I've seen at least, and my initial reaction to the trade was, I think he definitely has potential, but I just I'm not jumping ahead of myself and expecting top 4 deployment out of the gate kind of thing. I think he's an exciting prospect. He obviously is a big specimen. He's not afraid to lay out the body, and he's actually a pretty good skater for his size and throws some offense in there. So I think he offers some intrigue. I'd still like to see. I'm excited to get. I'm hoping that he starts in the AHL so I can get a good little look at him in an actual game scenario with my own eyes. But I'm excited. I'm also tempering expectations though. I'm thinking a third line, big body that can skate well, which is exactly what they need, but I'm tempering expectations for now.
Okay, final thing from me, Dave. Okay. 4 Nations break coming up. Over at Canucks Army, I'm pleased to share with everybody that you're going to be putting out your mid-season prospect rankings, Canucks prospect rankings, of course, over the course of, I don't know how many days was it? You and I went over the schedule on Google Meet today.
15. Not even 12
10. Days. It's going out. It's going out. 20 prospects. I'm not going to ask you to share the list because people need to go to Canucks Army, read the article, and of course click all the ads. But can you tell us who the biggest riser on your list is from the last time you did a list, which I believe was just before the season started, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Who's the biggest riser?
Well, so I'll preface it by saying this: there are going to be a lot of new, a lot of people are taken out. Melvin Fernstrom has been traded. He was in I believe he made it into my top 10 in the offseason. Atu Ratu won't be in it because he doesn't meet our criteria anymore. So there's going to be a little bit of movement just based on that. But I think if I'm remembering, I believe Riley Patterson is probably going to be my highest jumper. Ty Mueller is also a very close second, if not just as high of a jumper. So those are my two guys. Riley Patterson he's been impressive. Not only does he play that smart two-way game, but he now leads the Barrie Colts in goal scoring, has a very substantial cushion as the top point getter on the Barrie Colts, who is a pretty good team right now. So he's firing on all cylinders right now. He has, I believe it's 5 multi-point games in his last 7 games. So he's firing. He's probably going to be my highest riser out of, I believe I had him 12th last year, and he's going to go up a little bit this year.
Love it. Cannot wait. Riley Patterson was a feature in today's edition of Blackfish, which you write every week at Canucks Army. And of course, everybody should go read it and click all the ads. Dave, thanks so much for doing this. We really appreciate it, and we will chat with you soon.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the questions, people.
Love it. There he is, Dave Hall, man of the people. You know who else is a man of the people? Swervin Irvin, who hit us with a super chat. This is a donation of $6.99, very nice, to the BC Mental Health Foundation. Did I forget to do the super chat read at the top of the show? I feel like I might have forgotten the past few days.
Okay. You forgot, but it's all right. We got it here.
Yeah, there you go. The super chat is fans loving DPD is like when my dog and I had the same name, but my dad liked the dog better. That's such a good comment. I'm so glad. I love when people put a funny comment that we would probably read anyway because it's a really good comment, and then they attach a super chat to it just to make sure that we actually read it. That's a great comment. Thank you so much to Swervin Irvin for the donation to the BC Mental Health Foundation. Now, if you're listening to me say all this and you're confused, that might be because I forgot to do the super chat read. So let me tell you about our Super Chat and our Super Chat charity partner this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation. You want to make sure your question or comment gets on the show? As you just heard, hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Shout out to the BC Mental Health Foundation. Shout out to Swervin Irvin in the chat. Or was it Yervin? Swervin Irvin. Yeah, that's a good name. Our thanks again to Dave Hall for joining the show. A lot of listeners whenever we get Dave on the show. It's very nice. And I don't want to tease it too much, but we're hoping to get another guest tomorrow who has a pretty good pulse on Canucks prospects. So we'll see. But it looks like we're going to be back in studio tomorrow. We got Family Feud tomorrow as well. Jacob, do we have enough responses?
No, we need about 20 more.
Okay. Heard it there, folks. 20 more responses. There's 317 people watching this show, which means there's at least 220. I got it. There's at least 220 of you ish that haven't. I'm so bad at math. That haven't done the survey yet. Go do the survey if you haven't yet. Find it in the bio. And no, Warchild89 is guessing Chris Faber. No, Chris Faber's not coming on the podcast. He will one day. We're working on it. He will one day. Okay. Yeah. Our thanks again to Dave Hall. Let's get to our poll question, which is about Elias Pettersson, who is getting a lot of attention right now. Let's get to our poll question, which is brought to you by HSBC Rugby Sevens, where high caliber rugby and the ultimate party weekend collide. SVNS is Western Canada's largest sporting event, and this year is the 10th anniversary of the event. Catch 12 women's and 15 men's sevens teams, including 2 Canadian squads, take to the pitch for 3 full days of jam-packed rugby and partying. From February 21st to 23rd, BC Place is the place to be. Grab your friends in your best costume and come on down for the best party in town. Tickets are on sale now at vansevens.com, starting from just $45 per day. Shout out to Vancouver Sevens. A great time. Always a great time. Yeah, and Nar's right. Fabes forgot about us. Big time Faber. No, that's not the case. No, he's not big timing us. He's not big timing us. Poll question. With 29 regular season games left, 29 games left on the year, Harm, how many more NHL games will Elias Pettersson play this season? Our options were 25 to 29, 20 to 25, 10 to 20, and 1 to 10. Leading the way is 25 to 29. And I didn't put 29 because I'm just saying, like, okay, there might be a game where it's like, okay, yeah, we just want to get him a reset or whatever. But this basically means that he's here for the rest of the season. Like 25 to 29 means he's probably not getting sent back down aside from paper transactions, which this team loves. 38.2% of voters say 25 to 29, 27.9% say 20 to 25, and 28.2% of voters say 10 to 20. Just 5.7% say 1 to 10. So the majority believe that DPD is here to stay, Harm. What says you?
I mean, he absolutely has deserved to stay in this lineup. And to me, I'd guess somewhere in the mid 20s range, sort of like 24 to 26, accounting for like there are going to be occasional bumps in the road. He's a young defenseman learning the game. We're talking about a player that has really quickly risen the ranks as far as Allsvenskan, SHL, AHL, NHL, still only 20 years old. So I'm leaving some room for there being the occasional reset type of healthy scratch in case he struggles, but I expect him to be a fixture with this team for the rest of the season.
I'd vote 30 if I could. I've been on the DPD train since a couple weeks ago, which is basically day one. I'm a big fan of what we're seeing from Elias Pettersson. Got to keep him in the lineup. Okay. This one was from Christian A. And it's a good way to get to anyone else because we have a lot of anyone else's today. But this one from Christian A. He said, all-time Canucks convo moment was when a listener or viewer thought Faber was a prospect and asked, who's the big rig? I am so glad someone brought that up because that had actually exited my memory. I had completely forgotten that happened. Chris and I were laughing so hard when that happened. Like, I was the one that broke it to the viewer. Like, no, this isn't a prospect I'm interviewing. This is...
Dude, have I told you the story of my very first season covering the team? This is back in 2019. So I'm literally 19 years old, clean shaven, right? So I look young. My first sort of event that I'm covering is just I think it's September. They were doing sort of like a prospects camp type thing. I pull up to Rogers Arena. I have no idea where I'm going because it's my first time covering the event as a media member. And there's like almost like a table with a couple people there, sort of there to direct people. And I'm like, hey, I'm here for like the prospects camp. And they direct me down the hallway and I see a curtain and I peek behind the curtain. I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to go down this way because I see a bunch of like just prospects warming up in the hallway. And this is when like Quinn Hughes was still a prospect too, like keep in mind. And I turn back and I'm like, are you sure I'm supposed to go down this way? I just see a bunch of players. This seems curtained off. I didn't want to get in trouble, right? Yeah. My first day. And they're like, oh, wait, you're prospect, right? You could just go in the locker room. And I'm just like, no, I'm media. I'm not a prospect.
That's a great story. You have told me that. That was in Victoria, right?
No, this was at Rogers.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, you have told me that story. I like that story. My closest thing to it that I can offer up is one time I was driving out of Rogers Arena, and you know how fans wait for players to exit to sign autographs? I don't drive that nice of a vehicle, I promise, but I was leaving, and when you come up onto, what's the street there? To get onto Expo, I can't remember what it is, but it's the one that is the Rogers Arena parking garage, and we park under the rink during morning skate, so I was leaving, and I was kind of stuck behind a bunch of cars, and a little boy and his dad came up to my car window with a piece of paper and a Sharpie, and I just rolled down my window like, oh no, I'm not a player. They didn't speak English, so like they kept passing me the paper and the pen, and I was just trying to go like, no. But then I didn't want to be like, well, they think there's a really rude Canuck on the team that won't sign their autograph, so I signed an autograph for them. It was a piece of paper. It wasn't a jersey. I did not deface a jersey for these people. I wouldn't have signed it if it was a jersey, but it was just a piece of paper. And I was like, sure, I'll sign it. I have a signature. They really want it. Maybe they were Canucks Convo listeners. You never know. So I signed it for them. That's my closest thing I have is... Yeah, and I'd like to think that they really like Canucks Convo, and they wanted me to sign that for them. Okay, Jacob makes a good point. If they didn't speak English, they might not listen to Canucks Convo. There's like translate apps, right? Can you do that with audio? Can someone listen to this podcast in another language? Jacob, pull that up.
No, but like I guess if they download it. Probably not.
But you could read articles.
Yes. They might have read some translated articles on CanucksArmy.com. That is possible.
Yeah, didn't want to catch Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, or JT Miller. We're sticking it out just to meet David Quadrelli of Canucks Army.
Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, let's get to anyone else in a second. This one was... Oliver Sholnick said, anyone else, will quads be the first one in a DPD jersey at Rogers Arena? I'm sure Chester Ming has already bought one. Conversation said, Faber would absolutely trick people if he could skate. He's bigger than peak Bufflin. Here's the thing. Chris is, I don't know if it was a resolution. Chris told me he wants to learn to skate. I'm going to take Chris skating. We're going to skate together. And you're right. Like, that if he does shoot right. Chris does shoot right, I think. No, he's a lefty. But if he was right-handed, like that size on skates,
that's Vinny Darnay right there.
You'd want it on your beer league team. You'd at least want it on your beer league team for sure. Yeah, I can't teach him how to skate backwards, obviously. But anyways, let's get to anyone else, which is brought to you by Greta. A great spot for all games, home and away. The home of our electric watch parties, Greta Bar YVR is a great spot to be, and we hope to see you there for all of those watch parties all season long. But even if we're not there, you certainly should be. Just minutes from the arena, come by before and after the game or whatever event you're downtown for. With arcade games, weekly drink specials, and the recently updated street food menu, Greta Bar YVR is the place to be. 50 West Cordova Street is the address. Let the games begin. We lost Harmon.
He just put into our private chat, his laptop's dying. He's going to grab the charger.
No problem. How long did he think that ad read was going to take? Broke Shinobi said, big fans of Canucks Convo. I would want a quads autograph. And I could wait for Harmon, but this is brought up by a few people. Brian Wirch brought it up. Oli Sventon, apologies if I'm mispronouncing that, brought it up. So let's talk about this. He said, Saravalli, friend of the show, Frank Saravalli, or at least I thought he was a friend of the show. Frank Saravalli said on Flames Nation that Marcus Pettersson is a number 5 defenseman. Someone else saying that Saravalli said he hated the trade. Brian Wirch bringing it up, saying Saravalli should get on this show and defend his statement on Marcus Pettersson being a number 5 defenseman. I haven't seen this. Did Frank call Marcus Pettersson a number 5 defenseman, Harm? Because for sure we're getting him on the show to defend himself and explain himself because we're big Marcus Pettersson fans on this show. But did you see this? Did Frank actually say this, or is this misquote?
I didn't see the clip, but I did see people talking about that.
Okay.
Someone
send the link
legit
in the chat. Someone send the link in the chat. But anyways, yes, we'll have Frank on. Of course we'll have Frank on. And
he's not a number 5 defenseman. He is way better than that.
No. But okay, here's the thing though. You can have takes. People can have takes. And if you can defend your take, no problem. I don't have any problem with that. I would rather have people who have takes and go hard on their take and then maybe say later, okay, yeah, maybe I was wrong about that, or here's why I thought that, than people who just like, oh, I'm gonna sit on the fence the entire time. I'm never gonna give you an entertaining take. I'm not gonna give you anything that gets you talking. I'm just gonna be as lukewarm as possible. That's not my style. I don't like that. Obviously, I very much so disagree with him. I actually think he's just wrong, like similar to his take about Kyle McCarr last year. I think he's just wrong, which is fine. We can all disagree, and we can tell Frank that he's wrong. That's the fun of this show, is telling people that they're wrong.
Yeah, because we're never wrong, right?
Yeah, if I were ever wrong, people would have fun doing that. But, that's why we get our guests on the show, is to tell them they're wrong about things. But anyways. Yeah, Nar saying Frank Daddy's next hit on Canucks Convo should be epic. Yeah, we are booked for this week, but I would like to have Frank on the show soon. I would. Flames Nation podcast. There's like 8 Flames Nation podcasts. So I don't know.
I found the full episode, but Flames Nation haven't posted the interview separately, so I haven't been able to listen to it. But we'll get it dealt with by tomorrow. We'll have the quote and clip separated from that for tomorrow's show.
Christian A, he gets it. Christian A gets it. He said, of course, quads would defend a hot takes merchant. Absolutely. Hot takes merchant. I like that. I really like that. Broke Shinobi said, it's really fun to tell quads he was wrong. Okay, tell me when that happens. And then, yeah. Can you name something I've been wrong about, Harm? Like actually wrong. Can't defend it.
I mean, when Frank will come on, he'll probably tell you were wrong about the Oilers Canucks. You had some type of bet with Frank in the playoffs last year.
No, we don't bring that up.
There was, I think the punishment too was like you getting pied or something. It hasn't happened yet.
Well, because he said, okay, do it on your next show. I was like, I'm not gonna do it without you here. Next time he comes to Vancouver, and I'm also in the area. No, we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. Okay. Yeah, this is good. Okay, we've got other stuff in the chat as well. Let's not just make it all about Frank Saravalli today. Yeah, okay, we didn't even get to this, Arm. The Canucks practiced today. And when we were talking about that game, one thing we didn't talk about was the line shuffling that happened at the start of the second period. So Philip Hedl goes on to power play 1. Connor Garland comes off of it. Harman, hot take? Power play 1 looked a lot better with Philip Hedl on it than it had with Connor Garland on it. I think it's a good idea to try because Hedl has that finishing ability as well. He's also got the same tools as Garland when it comes to carrying the puck into the zone. Like, that's something that we've already seen from Hedl, and that's basically why Garland was on the Canucks' first power play unit, was just to help with zone entries. And if Hedl can do that and be another shooting threat, and be a real threat to score on the power play, I like him in that spot.
Yeah, since he's arrived overall, he's been their best forward. It was interesting to me. Played nearly 21 minutes last game, which led all Canucks forwards. It's the second time in a row he's played more than 20 minutes. Rick Tocchet is deploying him like this team's number one centerman. Elias Pettersson in 2 straight games has been in and around the 17-minute range. So first of all, credit to Rick Tocchet for recognizing how well Hedl's been playing and just giving him full reign to go out there to play with confidence. The creativity and stick handling to take guys on 1v1 has been so fun to watch. The other thing I'll point out, we've given Hedl a lot of credit for how dynamic he is off the rush. Another aspect of his game I like is when he's protecting the puck down low, he's able to shield it. He doesn't get checked off of it easily. He's shifty, and he finds ways to take pucks from the wall or the offensive zone corner and attack toward the net. He did that once or twice in the Detroit game. He did that once or twice last night. He isn't just a rush player. He can play off the cycle a little bit. And that's important because you can't just be a one-trick pony. You can't rely on one means to create offense. And with Hedl, there is some semblance of a fallback offensive game, a plan B if he isn't able to create off the rush.
Okay, so when it came to the 5-on-5 lines, Hedl got a turn with Brock Besser and Drew O'Connor, and that line looked real good. And I mean, yesterday I was talking about it. Get Drew O'Connor in the top 6, give a speedy guy playing with Brock Besser. I'm starting to do this article right now. It probably will be up tomorrow, but my preliminary research told me that Drew O'Connor and Philip Hedl, according to NHL Edge, they're the 2 fastest Canucks, 1 and 2. Hedl's 1, Drew O'Connor is number 2 in terms of speed, and I don't think it's a coincidence that those guys have been leading the rush. They've been transitioning the puck, they've been carrying the puck into the zone, and I also don't think it's a coincidence that Brock Besser looked a lot better when he was playing with Philip Hedl and Drew O'Connor. The 2 fastest Canucks playing with Brock Besser. And again, that data is courtesy of NHL Edge. It's in terms of speed bursts over 20 miles per hour and top skating speed as well. But if we could get the lines, Jacob, and I know we don't have it ready probably, so no worries if we don't have it right now, but there were some new lines at practice. They're basically just the lines that we saw last at the end of the last game against Colorado. It's basically the same lines that we saw. So did you have any take on the idea of Hedl with Besser? I like it, obviously.
I like it because to me, DeBrusk, PD, and Besser were too slow of a line. I know DeBrusk's got above average pace, but Pettersson, Besser, it just feels like they're too slow right now, especially because Pettersson, in my opinion, doesn't have the usual burst in his skating that he typically does. So I think it also helps the Pettersson line because you bump Garland up, and Garland's more of a driver. He can dictate play, which in my mind is what that Pettersson line really needs. Whereas for Besser, he doesn't need to be the play driver. Hedl's been driving play. He's been creating a lot of chances, and it puts Besser in a position where he just needs to get open. He just needs to be the supporting complementary piece, which is how he functions best. He had a lot of scoring chances in that game. The other fascinating trend that has been emerging over the last couple games is when JT Miller got traded. I think a lot of us assumed that because he'd been taking on the hard matchups against the other team's star players, that those responsibilities would then go to Elias Pettersson. Over 2 games, in the Detroit game with Dylan Larkin and Colorado against Nathan McKinnon, Rick Tocchet has turned to the Pia Suter line as a checking sort of go up against top comp Suter's line played nearly 10 minutes at 5-on-5 head-to-head against McKinnon. The Hedel line has also, in both games, played more against the Larkin line and the McKinnon line. Rick Tocchet's been making it a point of emphasis to keep Pettersson's line away from top competition, which I think is fascinating. I don't think he's wrong to turn in that direction, given how much that Pettersson line has struggled the last couple of days, but it also underlines even further, it's not just that PD isn't able to produce or look dangerous right now. He's not able to produce and look dangerous in relatively soft matchups.
I don't blame Tocchet at all, and I know you're not either. But I don't know. I don't want to turn this into a let's slag on Elias Pettersson. But come on, like you're waiting for something to happen. You're not playing against top competition. When's it going to turn for Elias Pettersson? There's people in the chat already asking, is it fair to say that if he doesn't turn it around this year, that the Canucks might still keep him? Because again, we've talked about this, and we talked about as soon as the trade happened last week, we said, okay, well, pressure's on Elias Pettersson to perform now, and if he doesn't, and Saravalli joined the show to tell us this, and believe it or not, folks, he's an NHL insider. He has takes, but he also knows things. And one thing he said was the Canucks are absolutely using this as an opportunity to figure out what they have in Elias Pettersson without JT Miller. There goes that excuse for Elias Pettersson. What does he look like down the final stretch of the season here? Does it need to be more time than that? Like what are we talking about when it comes to Elias Pettersson right now?
For me, the biggest question, again, just comes down to why does he not look right physically? Why does he look so slow? What is it? Is it a confidence-related thing? Is it something to do with knee tendonitis or something else that he's playing through? And those are answers that, quite honestly, from the outside, we're not going to get full, transparent answers on. If you walk up to Elias Pettersson in the locker room, you're not going to get the honest truth of what exactly is going on. And same thing if you try and do some digging reporting wise, you're not necessarily going to get the truth on what's going on. Internally, the Canucks are going to know best about what's going on. And that is the biggest question that still looms in my mind is why does he look so slow? Why does he have no burst or explosiveness in his skating? Because again, with Hedel, I think a lot of people were saying before the Hedel trade that, oh, it's been Tocchet's system, it's been the playing style, the reliance on dump and chase. And while I think that could be part of it, quite clearly, I don't think it's the primary reason because we're seeing Hedel come in and Pettersson looks like he's operating at 50% of the pace Hedel is.
Again, we bring up those speed bursts. Hedel, O'Connor, fastest players on the Canucks right now in terms of speed bursts over 20 miles per hour and overall top speed as well. Not a coincidence. We've
also, like, the other reason I'd been thinking, okay, Pettersson hasn't looked as dangerous off the rush is because early in the season, in the first half, their bottom four was terrible at breaking the puck out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking, okay, if your blue line can't really move the puck out, then it makes it difficult for a centerman like Pettersson to look dangerous and dynamic in transition. But over the last couple of games and even last couple of weeks in general, they've been breaking the puck out a lot better. They've been able to do it through the middle. Like, that excuse doesn't really hold up lately either.
People are getting tired of the excuses. I know that. Like, you can see that in the chat. You can see it in whatever Canucks comment section you go to. People are definitely getting tired of it. And I get it. I'm of the personal belief, and I said this earlier as well, I'm of the personal belief that you need to figure out and like get to the bottom of what's going on. I think two things can be true. The Canucks keep talking about preparation. They keep talking about he's got to practice harder, all these sorts of things. I think you're allowed to be not feeling great, but I also think you can take some personal responsibility and say, okay, maybe I need to work a little bit harder in the gym, right? Like, you can strengthen your legs if you're having trouble. And again, I'm not sitting here pretending like I'm a doctor or anything like that, but, and not to bring it up with my tendonitis, but the number one thing I was told was like, yeah, strengthen everything around your area that you're suffering tendonitis in. Like, that was the number one thing I said, or I was told. And again, I'm not sitting here saying like That's all he needs to do. But when the team keeps coming out and saying, yeah, he needs to prepare more, he needs to take his preparation more seriously, all this sort of stuff, practice harder, whatever we've heard. Yeah, I think both things can be true. I think he's probably still dealing with his knee tendonitis. Remember, I've been bringing this since training camp. His first press conference of the year was, yeah, I had to train around it this offseason, and it's one of those things that's nagging and won't go away. But then he quickly goes, oh, but I'm good now. I'm good now. Okay, sounds good. We fully believe you. I think there's more. I think there's more. I think there's more to it as well. I think both things can be true.
Another question I've had, though, is some players, when they have bumps, bruises, they're still a really effective player. They, like, JT Miller is actually a pretty good example. Maybe not this year, but in years past, just countless examples of him, like getting these bumps and bruises, not being quite at 100% physical health, but you wouldn't know it based off how impactful he was, how well he was playing. One question I have is Pettersson the type of player that, if he isn't at 100% full health, that his game just dramatically falls off? Is he that type of guy? And that would still be a concern, because you can't just pin it solely on an injury. Then it's a bigger question of, well, in the NHL over an 82-game season, and especially if you're going to be a playoff team and you have ambitions of going deep in the postseason, you're going to have to be able to play at and be really effective at 90% health, 85% health, whatever it is. Like, look at Quinn Hughes. Perfect example. Quinn Hughes hasn't been at 100% health. You saw the hand contraption he was playing at, but he was still playing at a Hart Trophy level. Is Elias Pettersson the type of guy that, when things are off with him physically, for whatever reason, his entire game falls off a cliff? Like, that would be a concern too. It isn't just an excuse.
And this is why I say I'm not a doctor, because people are bringing up the tendonitis thing that I brought up. Brad said this: tendonitis is different from person to person. My dad has had it in the knee for years, and some days he can barely walk. Whereas Dan Jardine said, yeah, tendonitis is fixable. P should be hitting the bicycle and doing some weightlifting to build his leg strength. Yes, tendonitis is different for everyone. We should be clear about that. But I think if the team's coming out and talking about preparation and that you need to do this and all this sort of stuff about Elias Pettersson, like, I'm of the opinion that, yes, both things can be true. That, yeah, it's probably difficult for Elias Pettersson right now to deal with that. But also, the team knows what's going on, and they're the ones saying, yeah, he needs to work harder in the gym. He needs to prepare better. I think both things can be true. I don't think it's one or the other. Not sitting here trying to make excuses for Pettersson, but I think both things can be true, and I think it's a complicated situation. You brought up Quinn Hughes there. We should mention another thing that came out of practice today was that Quinn Hughes is not going to travel with the team to San Jose for their game against the Sharks tomorrow. Rick Tocchet saying that they will talk to Hughes about Four Nations. Tocchet, I think the quote was, the guy loves his country, and of course he wants to play, but he also needs to know what's at stake. Something along those lines. I'll get the exact quote. Jacob, can we pull that up? I don't know if we have it. I'll find it because I don't want to misquote Tocchet. Let me take the extra 2 seconds to go find it. Here it is. Tocchet said on Quinn Hughes and his availability for the Four Nations. This is courtesy of Brendan Batchelor. It depends on the next 48 hours. We'll sit down with Quinn and talk to him. Like every player, you're concerned about safety and health. I know Quinn is a USA guy, loves his country, playing with his brother. There's a lot of positives to it, but he's a smart kid too. He understands what's at stake. So we'll see what happens. Canucks, of course, play the Sharks tomorrow, and the Leafs pay a visit to Rogers Arena on Saturday, 4 p.m. start for that game. So, Harmon, I ask you, Quinn Hughes at the Four Nations, yes or no?
I mean, if you're a Canucks fan, selfishly,
2 weeks off sounds good for Quinn Hughes.
2 weeks off sounds really, really appealing. I think it sounds more appealing than seeing him play for USA, which would still be really fun, but it's not the Olympics, right? As much as Four Nations is going to be competitive, it's going to be hard hockey. I think this would be a different conversation if it was the Olympics. In that type of environment, you'd, I think, be more understanding of, hey, let the guy play. This is the Olympics, happens once every 4 years. What a special opportunity. But Four Nations is clearly a notch below that. And it's not as if it's not like Quinn Hughes is one of those bubble players that he needs his 4 nations to prove to Team USA that he deserves to be on the Olympic team moving forward. He's going to be a lock for the Olympic team. So, and we've already seen Alex Pietrangelo, who's still been playing games for the Vegas Golden Knights, pull out for Team Canada. So if you're a Canucks fan, you want this team to make the playoffs, you're probably leaning towards wanting Quinn Hughes to have these 2 weeks off, but we'll see.
7-6 said Hughes can take a break if he wants. We just want to see JT Miller versus Elias Pettersson. It's a good comment. That's a really good comment. Walking Blind in the chat, YouTube, said Quinn will 100% play 4 nations. This is the thing, is like, he probably really, really wants to be there, and I wouldn't fault him if he went. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, he's gotta rest for the Canucks. He's got to do what's best for the team. Like, the guy wants to play in the 4 nations. I get it. He wants to represent his country. Hasn't been able to do it in a while. To your point, though, it isn't the Olympics. So, again, it's not like, it's still heartbreaking, but it's not absolutely crushing, because you'd assume that he'll be able to play next year in the Olympics for Team USA. Which, by the way, I found some people online didn't really realize what 4 nations is for. This is basically to get everybody in the rhythm of, okay, we're going to have a 2-week break next year for the Olympics, but here's a tune-up. Like, the players wanted a tune-up. This is the NHLPA and the NHL working together to put this on, because it gives these 4 nations a chance to tune up before the 2026 Olympics, which are in Italy, are they not?
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, they're in Milan and Cortina, I believe.
Northern Italy. Canucks Conversation, live on location for the 2026 Olympics.
It's below the Nation Network's budget right there.
Oh, no, it's not. Come on now. I have a separate budget. The Quads budget is separate.
The Owner Quads budget.
Owner Quads budget. That's right. That's right. If everybody hits us with a super chat and we just take the money away from our charity partner, I kid, of course. Yeah. We used to have a Patreon. Maybe we'll fire that back up. Raise some money to get to Milan. I'm sure people watching this are like, yeah, we really, really hope you guys can go to Italy. Let's put over our money for that. As we were talking about a weak Canadian dollar on the other show, let's spend our money on making sure that Harmon and I get to go vacation in Milan. Okay. Oh, Conversation say he might go to Milan for 26. He might go watch the Olympics. Have you ever been to an Olympic event like in Vancouver? Did you ever get to one?
I can't even remember. I was like 10 years old.
Yeah,
I definitely went
10.
to some of the Paralympic events. I don't know if I don't think I went to one of the actual Olympic events, though.
I never got to go to an Olympic event. Never got to one.
I got to some short track speed skating at the Coliseum. I don't really know much about speed skating, but I had a great time.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Was there anything else I missed? Anything that came out of practice that I missed? Everything's over at CanucksArmy.com. Jeff Patterson, yeah, he has scenes from Canucks practice up. Heedle's on the top power play unit again, so it looks like that's going to be a permanent thing, at least for now. Anything else I'm missing? I think that's it. Did I have... Oh, I did want to mention this. Yes. Okay. No, I'll save it. I'll save some... I had some Besser stuff, but I'll save it. I did want to say Flames and Canucks are deadlocked right now. Obviously, same number of points, same number of games played. Obviously, that means exact same winning percentage, but also same number of regulation wins. The goal differential for the Flames is -14. For the Canucks, it's -13. It would be -14 for both teams if Drew O'Connor didn't score the empty net goal last night. So these teams are very, very close right now. I think the Canucks are trending up right now. So if you're a Canucks fan, obviously you're hoping that they'll be able to continue that upward trajectory. You would think they'd be able to do it with the way they played against Colorado. San Jose tomorrow will be back tomorrow to break it down. And the Winnipeg Jets get their 7th straight win. How many wins am I at in a row on the Bet365 bet of the day? All underdogs. I haven't stopped taking underdogs, Jacob. It's been 5 or 6 underdogs in a row.
I think it's 6.
I think it's 6 in a row. I'm gonna double check for you, but yeah, you're on a heater.
Okay, there's no underdog that I really like tonight, except for one. So it's Montreal, LA. Montreal is +205 underdog. Those are hefty odds. Chicago, Edmonton. Chicago's +225. Although if memory serves, the last time those two teams played, also in Chicago, it was a 4-3 win for the Oilers, and I think the Blackhawks led that game. But I think this
I
is
can't
more about the
remember.
Oilers not really trying than it
Oilers
does the
played last
Blackhawks.
night. If that factors into your decision making.
No, I can't take plus 225 Blackhawks. I just don't
Yeah.
believe in it enough. And the record, the streak is on the line. The streak is on the line right now. So let's go. Okay, I hate to do it, but we're gonna go Boston Bruins. Okay, we're gonna go Boston Bruins, who are visiting the New York Rangers. The Rangers came into Boston. That was JT Miller's second game with the Rangers, and the Bruins won. The Bruins, didn't they blank them in that game? What happened in that game? No, it was 6-3. It was 6-3, and then the Bruins won 3-0. They played yesterday, but they got the Rangers again today. I'm going to say the Bruins take care of business in that game as well. They are the underdogs at plus 180 on the money line. We're going to continue to ride underdogs. We'll see if it pays off. Come through for me, Zadorov. Talk about you a lot on this show. That was our bet of the day, brought to you by Bet365, a proud partner of Canucks Conversation. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Be sure to use code NATION when you sign up for an account. Must be 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. All right. We will wrap it up there. For my co-host, Harman Dial, and our technical producer, Jacob Azar, my name is Dave Wajrelli. Thanks so much for this episode of Canucks Conversation. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.